Hey, welcome back. But yeah, I am still stuck. I don't know where the hell I'm supposed to go. Yeah, I know that. How do I get back up? I swear, if I'm like blocked, I'll be upset.
A rapture reminder. Wanting an item from the service is forgivable. Buying or smuggling one into rapture is stay on the level and out of trouble.
Kill your cravings at the circus.
I definitely got one here.
Kill your cravings at the circus.
I missed something somewhere? I'm getting a bit upset. I will not lie. Hold on, I'm Oh no. Alright. Well, alright. So we're gonna spend. That's spelled wrong. Alright. So yeah, I looked it up. Apparently it took too long before getting into the tavern. I'm supposed to just run into the tavern. Exhibit slow profile. Irrational's internal name for this prototype Big Daddy variant, whom all players with enormous hook and fired iron bearings from a barrel, stood for slow projectile, effed up melee. Survived long enough to become fully functional AI, but the team eventually got him to focus on polishing the other Big Daddy types. Model later appealed in BioShock 2 as the Rumbler, throwing miniature turrets instead of cannonballs. Early Bouncer. This original model for the Bouncer type of Big Daddy featured a fathead drill at the end of each arm. The Big Daddies were envisioned as the builders of Rapture, with weapons modified from tools they would have used in its construction, when the Gatherers were reimagined as the Liberal Sisters. One of the Bouncer's drills was changed to glove hands so the two characters can interact with each other. That's cool. Like that. Forest concept art. Irrational's artists tried to envision how an underwater city would actually function in this early conceptual work of Rapture. One idea: imagine a thick forest for the purpose of oxygen exchange, seen here with an observatory catwalk, running around the edge. The concept using cheese for oxygen exchange made it into the final game in the Arcadia level. Exhibit: The Gatherer. It may be hard to imagine that this creature, whose job it was to reclaim Adam from corpses around Rapture, was the earliest iteration of the idea behind the Little Sister. Not really. The Gatherer generated absolutely no sympathy from the players. The team experimented with concepts for featuring a number of animals, including the infamous dog in a wheelchair, and later a grotesque miniature humanoid. Finally, concepts kept a deformed child to inspire the Eureka moment responsible for the Little Sisters. Not as much as a cut concept as Easter eggs for exhibit museum videos. These sea creatures can be seen swimming past the player's view during the Sphere ride down to Rapture and BioShock's opening sequence. Interesting. Exhibit Stitchy. The first splicer that Rational created for BioShock, Stitchy, was used in many early concept demos and was fully functional in game with cinematics. I don't. Why is it spelled with K? Hit reactions and voiceover. Took us that long to realize he wasn't a good model, said lead artist Sean Robertson. This is probably the worst abomination that Rational has ever made. Yeah, it's more grotesque than scary. I will say that it's more funny looking. Early Splicer concept art. These are some of first concept sketches to show Bioshock's enemies moving in a more human-like direction. Officers coupled that approach with the idea that Adam deformed the body in a way that related to its intended function. For instance, a giant grotesque arm on a melee enemy. Also, because I doubt human beings would ever really control over that. Early sponsor concept. These are some of the first concepts to show Bioshock enemies moving. The idea that Adam deformed pream hand before solidifying the fiction around Adam. Irrational experiment with the idea of being an external injected substance. Here you can see us playing around with Adam being mechanically injected, said lead artist Sean Robertson, so the splicers got visual on it of it on his belt. This model was created but never made in the game in any form. Early Splicer, we had Splice to become a marksman. Early Big Daddy concept art. These are early comes for the rosy type of Big Daddy who, like the bouncer, was a vigilant construction worker who had been purpose as a protector for the gatherers. Okay. I don't know if I've gone through all these before. Hooker. Created around the same type as Stitchy. In the Nader, this splicer was dubbed the Hooker because of her weapon of choice. This concept evolved into the Spider Splicer when it was decided that splicer models could fill any behavior role, and the Hooker model later became the Baby Jane Splicer. Interesting. Neptune's bounty. Caught by these appears in the Neptune's bounty level of BioShock, but the bodies floating in the ocean were cut late in development when their cast shadows proved too distracting from the action in the room. Environmental study. The location depicted here was built for the Vision demo of BioShock. Small level demonstrating several key elements of the game, such as Big Daddies and Gatherers. Grenader. The Gray F-15 Slicer was an early Grenader from the same period of development as Stitchy and Hooker. It was a guy who spliced to carry around giant grenades and throw them at useless leaders. Sean Robinson, the model was built in texture but never animated. Big Daddy's originally called Protectors, but envisioned a dive suit construction force retasked with offensive atom gatherers. They used construction tools or improvised weapons that looked like they had been found on the seafloor. From left to right are early concepts for the melee range and slow projectile. Okay, so melee. See that? That's good. That's a good idea. Rivet gun, really cool. And then slow projectile. Squid? I really don't know what's going on in that one. Fleet Hall concept art is a concept for Sander Cohen's, because I did read that right. Fleet Hall was created after level building had begun when the designers found they were having difficult contextualizing the theater space. One of the earliest pieces built for BioShock, one of the many assets used in this museum come from that area. Most of the assets. Iconic rapture concept of this was first Gems really captured all the villa elements that made BioShock BioShock, a large view of the ocean, the aquatic lighting scene, and the elegant Art Deco design elements. Without this image, BioShock would have been a radically different beast. You can kind of tell. Yam Hand model. This character diversely called Yam Hand around Irrational Games was the poster child of the conceptual phase that preceded the decision to go with human enemies. To point out the drawings behind the model set leads are Sean Robinson. You can see the top one got built, but the other two informed the design as well. As we tended towards humanoids, the Scooby monsters got goofier and less scary. Yeah. We found some of the earliest pieces done for BioShock from back when Irrational was still working on SWAT 4. The only concrete ideas at that point were an undersea city and biological experimentations, or only concepts focused on those themes. Ugh. Really Big Daddy. This was the fourth protector concept originally created with the organic slug attached to it. Model was started, but never completed as a team narrow. The focus is the 3 and finally just 2 Big Daddy types. I still like this as protector, says artist Rob Waters. We started modeling and really pushed to get it in, even as just a static model on the floor, but it never made it. Missing link model. This model is essentially the missing link between the grotesque early designs and the human splicers that appeared in BioShock. This is the last bad model, quotes, we did before moving on to what actually went into the shipping game. The lead artist, Sean Robinson, after playing with him for a while, we just said, why don't we use humans instead? I always thought of these as Scooby-Doo monsters because they were too inhuman, invoke empathy. Kinda, yeah. They were scarier, but it's more about the empathy, and without that, it doesn't really be BioShock. Subject depicting what would later become Submarine Bay, an area which housed an important scene for Atlas. The concept depicting Big Daddy bursting through a wall was part of the audio log for the Big Daddy training grounds about a rogue Big Daddy. The player then encountered him at the end of the level. Alright. That seems to be all of the things in the museum. I'm sorry if I've gone through this before, but again, I wasn't really expecting to encounter the bug. I've looked. The only way apparently I can get through it is to use console commands. Let's listen to director's
Hey,
commentary.
I'm Jeff Keighley here in Boston to go behind the scenes to hear some untold stories about the making of
I don't know. You want me to watch that maybe later, but sadly I think that's gonna end it for now. I'll decide later on what I'm gonna do, if I'm gonna go back to an old save previously, or if I'm just gonna use console commands. Those are my only two options. I don't really want to do that right now. And so sadly, like, dislike, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications, or don't do any of that. I hope you've enjoyed this very disappointing diversion, but sometimes that's just how it goes. Hope to see you again.